Staff is going to take this. Corinne's going to take it. I had a brain thing.
All right. Good morning. So this report's bringing forward the recommendation of the location and date of the 2022 volunteer recognition. So just a little bit of background. Annually, we hold an awards dinner, which includes the volunteers as well as long service firefighters, to recognize the important role they play in our programs and services. So each year, a different location is chosen. And so in 2019, it was the Rod and Fire Hall, and then the last 2 years, it was online. It was supposed to be at the Uniacke Legion both years, but due to COVID, we weren't able to host an in-person event. So in 2021, the volunteer recognition had 12 volunteer firefighters recognized, and with 30 years or more. And the event historically attracts 18 to 20 volunteer nominees who get Shining Star Awards, and 5 to 10 long service firefighter recipients. We usually estimate every year. Also, each year a Model Volunteer is awarded. We chose those from the Shining Star recipients. And then this recipient attends the Volunteer Provincial Awards in 2023 representing our municipality. So the evening consists of a reception, which include and a sit-down dinner and the awards to end the evening. This year, staff's recommending to the location of Mount Uniacke Legion for 2022 for both the awards. And each year, we try and host the awards during the National Volunteer Week. So that would fall on April 29th, 2022. And all public health measures will be followed for an in-person event. So again, in 2020 and 2021, we had to present an online presentation format. So if COVID restrictions change and we're unable to host an in-person, the online would be similar to 2020 and 2021, where there would be a social media campaign, online presentation on the website, as well as counselors would have the opportunity to present the recognition certificates and gifts to the nominated volunteers. Also, alternatives, if the suggested date of Friday, April 29th, 2022 is not acceptable, staff would make a recommendation of an alternative date, or council can decide to do online presentation if they wish. And there's your recommendation.
Thank you, Staff Corinne, for that. Comment or question or discussion, and Councillor Michael Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I'd like to commend staff the last number of years on the difficult situation, having these awards presented and still being able to make the volunteers feel special. That's a great job on your part for the bags put together with the awards. One thing I would like to see, though, however, I feel like the long service firefighters from 2020 and 2021 should attend this ceremony as well as the model volunteers with a Shining Star for each year, just to be recognized in a group. Each firefighter was recognized in their individual departments for their long service, but it wasn't normally when they're recognized in this thing, it's recognized also with amongst a group of peers across multiple departments, and it shows it. I just think for the sake of a couple extra plates, there's only, I think, 10 or 12 extra people, that it would be nice to invite them and their spouses to be able to partake in an event like this, and just, not be recognized individually, but, the 2020 people just stand up, and then the 2021 people stand up, and then we get into the full-on awards for 2022. I just think it would be a good gesture to allow a little bit of that more recognition that we normally would have got in a non-pandemic year to happen.
Is that all, Councillor Perry?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
I guess we'll have to see what others feel on that, and then we'll go from there. Warden Rolston.
Thank you. First, I'd like to apologize to staff and council. I had a notification pop up on my phone and some about the press conference that the province is doing right now. And when I went to try and take it off, I somehow opened it up, and my apologies.
It was mass panic.
It was not my intent, and I had the volume off on it to begin with. But anyway, my apologies for that. Agree with Councillor Perry. I think it could be something as simple as saying, previous long-standing firefighters were recognized, and even if you wanted to read the names, although I guess you would get into, do you read the Shining Star names that weren't at a banquet too? But that's logistics. We could figure that out. But I have no problem with that, and I'm just really so looking forward to being able to get back out in the community and recognize the volunteers in our more traditional way. Hopefully, we'll be able to do that. So certainly very supportive of the recommendation, and supportive of Councillor Perry's comments regarding the fire service.
You all, Warden?
That's it.
Councillor Sandergaard Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mike, I was going to suggest the same thing, that those long service awards, those gentlemen that we presented the awards to, it definitely was, they deserved so much more, and I would really like to see them attend that as well from the previous years. Yeah, so thank you.
That all, Councillor?
Yes, thank you.
Our director would like to weigh in.
Thank you,
Adam,
Chair,
Director Adam.
and councillors, for that suggestion. We'll move forward in the planning of the recognizing the previous firefighter long service awards. We'll have to look through our planning process, the logistics of numbers and attendance. It may not have an impact, but I just wanted to flag, normally with our recipients each year, they're allowed to bring X amount of guests. So we may need to reduce that number of their family members by one. We'll just have to look at the numbers as we proceed with the planning, the capacity of that location. I really don't anticipate it will be a problem, but instead of this year's recipient may be able to bring 3 guests, Corinne, they may be only able to bring 2 additional guests. So I just wanted to flag that.
But that is something we can discuss as we get closer to the time, right, correct?
It could be.
Yeah, all right. All right, thank you for that. Seeing no one else, you have a recommendation forth. What would be your wishes? Councillor Michael Perry.
I'll move the recommended motion.
Moved by Councillor Perry, seconded by Councillor Green. Any discussion? Question has been called. We'll go to the vote. Still waiting for one, Ernie. Oh, it's it today? Who are we missing? Oh, yes, that's right. Yes, and the motion is passed unanimously. That brings us to the end of Parks, Recreation, and Culture. We still have the addition to the agenda to deal with. Warden, I would like to see you take that, please. I would like to weigh in on that. So you do that.
Hey, folks, the addition to the agenda is around policies around COVID-19 vaccinations. You've all seen the email, I believe, from the CAO outlining what the plan is at present. Perhaps I would ask her to hit the high points of that if she doesn't mind. And depending on the line of questioning, it is certainly possible that we could be straying into areas of, legal and personnel issues in the discussion. If I feel we're getting anywhere close to that territory, I'll probably stop the discussion and we will move in camera at that time. Better to be safe than sorry when it comes to that. But I think it's well worthwhile for everyone in the listening public to hear just where we're at right now. So over to you, Kim.
Thank you, Madam Warden. So I believe the question on the table from Councillor Rhino is, what as a municipality are we doing about proof of vaccination for our employees? As you know, the provincial government has mandated vaccinations for all of their employees, as has HRM. I'm not sure where CBRM is on the issue at this point. They had gone back to look at a new policy other than the initial one that was proposed. I do have a survey from the Association of Municipal Administrators. 27 of the 49, I believe we have now, municipalities responded to a survey last week. Of those 27 respondents, 70% plan on implementing a proof of vaccine policy. Of those policies, 65% will give alternative measures to vaccination, such as masking and testing during the week. 36% have said that they will not be giving alternative measures to unvaccinated employees, and that loss of employment on administrative leave would be the result. So that's sort of the landscape that we're working in. As you know, and I should say that I've spoken with the directors about the sort of proposed plan here for East Hants under our human resource policies. It's my job to come up with policies around keeping our employees safe, keeping our public safe. So I have spoken to the directors about the direction that we could take. We've also gotten some pricing on testing and whatnot to measure how effective we could be with one type of policy over another. So throughout the whole pandemic, we have stuck with public health policy. So if public health has told us that we need to do something, we've absolutely done it. And right now you're seeing the proof of vaccination being required by patrons at the Aquatic Center, for example, at meetings that are non-regulated. So not council meetings, that we don't require proof of vaccination for the public to attend, but we do require them for things like open houses, for planning information and whatnot. The province as an employer and HRM as an employer have chosen to implement proof of vaccination or you be put off on administrative leave. There is no other option to continue working for those employers. From a much, much, much smaller staff perspective, I don't feel that we are in a position to do that. We have a staff of 70 people. Many of them provide essential services to your public. And I think if we, and I should say that I don't know the vaccination status of every staff member. So I am in a position where if I were to put in a policy that said everybody needs to be vaccinated or you don't work here anymore, I'm going to be in a position where I don't know if my essential services can continue to operate. And I can tell you with the job market the way it is right now, I don't have a bright future thoughts on being able to recruit to replace people, even temporarily, that may be choosing not to get vaccinated. So where do we go from here? When I look at the objectives of a vaccination policy, and I look at the protective measures that we have in place already through our public health measures. If you go to the front desk, you've got barriers. If you go visit the tax collection officer, there's a barrier between the public and the collection officer. People continue to wear masks as per public health. So with those measures, and then if we were to implement a policy that says you either have to show proof of double vaccination or you have to be subject to 2 tests per week and continue to wear a mask while in the workplace and continue to social distance from your fellow employees as well as the public, then that onus is being put back on the person to do that. And there are programs in place where we can ensure that those 2 tests are being done and that the results are being remitted to the employer twice a week. It's standard across many industries now that is what's happening. So for me, to meet the objectives of keeping people safe, I believe we can do that without putting a proof of vaccination or you're off on administrative leave policy in place. You know, as I said, the essential services part for me is key. I'm not sure how we continue to run facilities or keep buildings open if some of my essential services aren't vaccinated. You know, we certainly have public health services that we offer. And again, I have done a voluntary disclosure of vaccination, so I do know some of who is vaccinated, but I don't know who's not. So managing that risk is something that's important to me because I can't afford to not have staff to run our essential services. You know, keeping this building open, for example, if you don't have people to maintain the building or clean the building, or, and I'm not suggesting that that's one particular area of concern, it's just, I don't know, because as an employer, we haven't dove into that element yet. So that is where I am at as far as from a staff perspective. We just don't have the redundancy in our positions to be able to sort of, one person goes off on administrative leave, we bring someone else in. Our staff are maxed out right now as far as workload. And if one person were to, you know, 1 or 5 or 10, I don't know, were to be taken out of the workplace involuntarily, then we would be certainly in a position where your services to your public would suffer. There's no question that they would suffer if we were put in that position. Now, as far as council goes, I'm not prepared to put in policies about whether you folks need to be vaccinated to come into this building and go to council meetings, but that's certainly something that you can discuss either today or at a different date. And if you were to discuss that and incorporate testing into your program, then we could manage that from a human resources perspective. If you wanted to say that if you're not vaccinated, counselors have to, you know, have a test before any public meeting 2 days before or whatever, we could make that arrangement to make that happen. So, I mean, that's essentially where I am at. Still a few details to work through as far as an official policy goes, but that's certainly the way the province is moving. You know, people aren't ignoring the proof of vaccination requirement, but they're certainly looking at what the objective is. And for us, it's keeping people safe. With the amount of people that we have presumably unvaccinated, we're not going to move the needle on the 80% goal that the province has to get people vaccinated. You know, and that may have been one of their goals as an employer, to move that needle. We're so small, we're not going to make a difference in that respect, but what we will be able to do is keep people safe. And I believe sort of the hybrid model of vaccination is the route to go.
Okay, first up, I have Councillor Rhino, followed by Councillor Garden Cole, followed by Councillor Musa, followed by Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I heard the CAO's comments, and some parts of it I can agree with, but I hate being held for ransom if somebody doesn't want to get vaccinated because, oh, you can't get along without me. I don't do that. You know, in government, I don't care what it is, whether it's council, municipal, provincial, or federal, we're all seen as leaders in the leading of people, in the leadership of people, you know, and I do believe that people look up to us. And, you know, to set a standard like the public open houses that we're having, you have to show proof of double vaccination. But people may look at that and say, all right, I can't go to this meeting because I'm not vaccinated, but there's staff and or counselors on here that are not vaccinated, and so it sets a double standard. And I believe that we should be setting, you know, the leadership. We are the ones looked up to. Yes, it might be a provincial initiative or provincial order to show at these public meetings to show. But it'll always be seen in the public as the municipality's having this open house, and we then have to look for double vaccination. So those are my concerns, and strictly personally, if we ever want to eradicate this virus, I believe it starts with vaccination. And that's only a personal opinion, but that's how I feel with this. And I think this conversation is, that's why I brought it up, so everybody can have their say and have it on the record. Thank you.
Councillor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Yeah, I definitely want to weigh in on this as well. The fact that you're not sure about whether the staff here is vaccinated or not, I think that, in October 2021, with what's gone on, every employee should expect that that their superior is going to be obligated to find out if they are vaccinated or not. I don't think that that's stepping on anybody's toes. We are way past that with what's gone on. So I think everyone's vaccination status should be disclosed. As far as being concerned about not able to properly staff the municipality, should people not be able to come to work or wait until they are vaccinated, I think that you would be in the same boat as the school with all the staff that has to be vaccinated, as the nursing homes that are facing people being out when they desperately need them because they're waiting to get vaccinated. I think you're in the same boat as everyone else in this province and wherever else that these rules are be putting in place. So I really don't see any difference in that respect. And the example of, I take my grandson over to the pool and I have to show my vaccination status to someone who may or may not be vaccinated. I'm not in agreement with that at all. So I'm hoping that maybe there will be a shift in how this is going to play out here. Thank you.
Councillor Musa.
I'm kind of same line with Councillor Garden Cole. And the other day I had a customer at the restaurant, and he was telling me he was at another restaurant and they asked him for proof of vaccination. So he showed it to her. After that, the waitress told him, anyway, I'm not vaccinated. I don't believe in that stuff and stuff. He told her, well, that's a reason for me not to eat here. So if we want to do business, like especially with the swimming pool and stuff, I think we should be very clear with the public and let them know what's going on. Like if you're dealing with non-vaccinated, you should know, because probably people will say, well, that's a reason for me not to go there too. So I don't know. We have a big problem in front of us, and we have to find the best solution for the entire municipality. Thank you.
Councillor Perry.
I don't disagree with my fellow councillors, and I'm all in support of vaccination, but I'm also in support of personal choice, and every choice has a consequence. We operated the municipality before the vaccine was even available, and provided a lot of these services to the public in a safe and efficient manner. I would highly recommend to anybody to get the vaccine myself. But telling people what to do when it wasn't their initial condition of employment, I'm kind of a little leery on that. In my other job, as we all know, most councillors do, it is mandatory, right? And that's something that played out for my personal choices. But I do believe that we can operate as a municipality, and I do believe the culture in the municipality should be pro-vaccination, but we should offer accommodations for those with regular testing and measures that need to be adhered to ensure the public safety. there's just the greater risk to the public, in my personal opinion, is the loss of essential services that they require, that the municipality provides, if we don't have enough depth. And the biggest thing right now is we don't know currently what the impact is, because we don't know who is and who is not vaccinated in each department. So we don't know, we could be having this conversation and the conversation could not be something that's, we're talking about a very small number of people that don't interact with the public, or we could be talking about a large people that do. Current vaccination status is something that currently is unknown. But I also would support, as Councillor Rhino said, you have to provide leadership. And I believe leadership in the municipality is in this room. And I would say in this room that the vaccination status and testing and everything has to be made known, so they can have that confidence. At the staff and worker level, we might need to look at having that ability to offer an accommodation in order to proceed with providing services that are vital to the people, but we can still promote a culture of pro vaccination for the staff if they choose so. But it literally comes down to every choice has consequences, and losing employment, you're basically telling somebody you must do this, otherwise you're going to lose your job. And that, in my personal opinion, borders along a line of freedom. And that's something that I believe you should give people choices, and they have consequences. They can live with the consequences. The consequence is, if you're not vaccinated, you can't get on an airplane and fly. Well, you chose that. So that's where I sit at that. But I do believe in this chamber, we do have to lead by example, as Councillor Rhino said. Thank you.
Councillor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first thing that comes to my mind is that in order for you to enforce these secondary measures, you would have to know who wasn't vaccinated, right? So that all has to come to light. As far as, the consequences, unfortunately, we're in a position where other people's actions, their consequences can affect, one person's actions of not doing something, the consequences can have an impact on someone else. And I think that's the debate that we are in here right now. So, thank you.
Councillor Hale.
Thank you, Madam Warden. We're talking about vaccinations for the employees and in reaction with the public, and I think we're forgetting about the interaction we're having with employees within the municipality. And everybody is under stress. You may not know it, regardless of who you are, what you do, there's a certain amount of stress in your life. 70 employees, and you hope to think that everybody would be vaccinated, but we don't know that. And it'd be a sense of security knowing that all the employees here, whether you interact with other employees or not, are fully vaccinated. Because they're not, it's another level of stress put on employees. And if somebody was willing to give up their job rather than get vaccinated, that's a pretty serious thing in my mind. You're giving up your employment because you don't want to get vaccinated. And everybody is replaceable. And it may take a while. You may get somebody that's not nearly as good, or you might get somebody that's better. But for an individual to give up their job because they don't want to get vaccinated makes me wonder, do they really want to work here? And to get tested twice a week, is that going to be during employment time, or is that going to be after hours? You can be tested negative one day and be positive the next. We got to look at the season that's coming up here. Christmas is coming. Shopping malls, everybody's going to be out shopping, and we all seen the cases that's coming in Halifax there, and that's where, you know, a lot of it starts there and all over the province. But we got Christmas parties coming up. We've got concerts coming up. We've got a lot of things going on where the people who are unvaccinated may be attending. And if you look at the stats right across Canada, the majority of people that's getting COVID now are people who are unvaccinated. And, you know, like I say, the other council, we're the leader, you know. And if an employee here that doesn't want to get vaccinated and they want to give up their job, then I guess in my opinion, they'll have to give up their job. But I think it's the right thing to do is to make sure everybody is vaccinated. And that takes a sense of stress and security for all the employees that work here. So, thank you.
I'm going to ask Councillor Rhino to take the chair while I perhaps have a comment.
Yes, Warden.
I would just like to say, you know, I hear what everyone is saying, but I think we come back to, we have always followed the direction of public health. And the aim of public health and the restrictions and the regulations is to keep people safe, to keep our employees safe, to keep the public safe, to keep the municipality a safe place to work. The CAO, through her existing HR policies and that, has proposed a plan which she feels, and I tend to agree with her, will accomplish that. That employees will be safe and the public will be safe. The possible exception are certain times when there may be employees interacting, for example, the pool, where there could be employees interacting with young children who are not able to be vaccinated. And I hear exactly what Councillor Garden-Cole says, because, you know, I would like to be reassured that my under age 12 grandchildren going to swimming lessons where folks can't wear masks would be safe. So I think, you know, I think there could be exceptions or special regulations around those types of services where there is direct interaction with public, where social distancing and masking is not possible. To me, that would be entirely reasonable. I certainly know that the CAO will be moving to determine the vaccination status of employees, whatever policy we settle on here. I fully support, I'm double vaccinated, don't mind who knows it, carry my card, have it on my phone. As Councillor Perry, I fully support vaccination. I think it's important, and I encourage everyone, any opportunity I have, to get vaccinated. We tend to have become angry because we're tired of lockdowns and we're tired of the pandemic, and that makes, myself included, less patient with folks that I don't understand their reasoning for not doing what to me is common sense. However, by the same time, I accept that some of those people are not, for lack of a better word, crazy anti-vaxxers. They're frightened for whatever reason. They're frightened that the vaccine will have some specific effect on them. Maybe we don't think it will, but that doesn't change the fact that someone might be frightened, and fear is what's driving them to not be vaccinated. The public health measures and everything have also declared that, you know, you can't deny anyone essential services based on vaccine status. Folks are still able to go to grocery stores without showing any proof of vaccination. There are essential things that people need to do. And I would submit, after much thought, that earning a living and providing for your family is kind of an essential thing that a lot of people need to do. And I understand the sentiment 100%, but I think it perhaps a little harsh to say, toe the line here, or you don't have a job anymore, when there are alternatives that would accomplish the same ends. You know, there are alternatives. And folks, we can't request, we're not ever going to know the vaccination status of employees. That is not the role of council. The CAO will know the status, not council. But I would submit that if the policy she favors were to come in, it would be pretty obvious to the staff that work here who's wearing masks and social distancing. So it would be pretty obvious to them, perhaps not that certain people are not vaccinated, but that they have chosen not to disclose their status, at least. So, as I said, I can certainly support the suggestion of the CAO with the caveat that we do perhaps, and the only one that comes strictly to mind right now, but there may be others, would be the running of the pool, where our staff interact directly with the public and members of the public who are not able to be vaccinated because of their age. And I do think that those people should very clearly have to be double vaccinated. I do feel, and I would defer to the CAO to see if that was something that was, possible. But we have a good staff here. We have a good relationship with staff. We have good people. Perhaps, perhaps not. Some of these people, for whatever reason, are not vaccinated. And I'm trying really hard not to be judgy about that, because I'm not walking in their shoes. I'm vaccinated. My family, all, my husband's vaccinated, my son, my daughter-in-law, we're all vaccinated. I encourage, as I said, every one that I speak to, I encourage them that I think this is the way to go. But the humanity, we cannot, in my opinion, become harsh and judgmental on people when we really aren't walking in their shoes and we don't know why they have taken the decision they've taken. Yes, on the surface, I would love to say, you have to be vaccinated. But the reality is, we could be cutting off our nose to spite our face when we can perhaps meet the regulations and the requirements of public health, the needs of the municipality, and the safety of our employees and the public without using the biggest hammer that we have in our toolkit. If the time comes we needed to use the big hammer, that would be different. But I'm not gonna take a fence maul to try and drive a finish nail into something. And I think I would prefer to give the CAO the opportunity to implement the policy that she has suggested, to collect the vaccination information from staff, to require testing. Maybe it's 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And the wearing of masks and socially distancing if you don't want to provide proof of vaccination. And see how it goes with perhaps different requirements for places like the pool, where there is direct interaction with people who are not able to be vaccinated in situations where you can't socially distance or wear a mask. So I would be prepared to support that. I think a separate discussion, once we figure that out, is about what we require for council. We are not really personnel. If any councillor is uncomfortable discussing that in public because it's personal information, I would defer to the CAO. We could possibly have that in camera and decide if council wishes to make a policy where all councillors must be double vaccinated, or if we would look at a different option there. As I said, I have no problem. Double vaccinated. Take the booster shot whenever they tell me I need it. Not a problem. But I respect that not everybody is that comfortable. And I'm old enough, I guess, that I understand that while I might think you're just being stubborn and it's not a smart decision you're making, but I don't know where that decision is coming from in every mindset out there. So those are my comments, and that's the way that I would like us to go. I would like to give the CAO the opportunity to implement the policy and follow it through as she suggests, with the mitigating policies for folks interacting with younger people and things like that. And then I would suggest that perhaps we take a few minutes and we go in camera and allow council to broadly or very openly discuss. Everyone might not be as comfortable as I am exposing their vaccination status. I think we should have that discussion, and then we should give staff direction on how we feel that council, as the leaders, should be proceeding. So those would be my comments on the issue. Thank you.
Warden,
That's it, thank you.
CAO. I'm trying here.
Oh, sorry about that.
There you go.
Through you, Madam Warden. Or Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure who still has the chair.
I think it's back to me now.
Back to you.
We were discussing yesterday the situation where you would have potentially unvaccinated people working with youth under the age of 12 who can't get vaccinated and who aren't required to show proof of vaccination to enter into, say, the aquatic center, for example. So we'll be working through that with the intent that public safety is our primary concern. So we haven't, Adam and I haven't gotten back to those discussions yet, but certainly that would be one of the things considered in the policy. As far as the discussion around council, I think it would be appropriate if you had an open discussion in council, and if anyone wanted to get into personal particulars, then it would be appropriate to go in camera at that point.
Councilor Musa.
Thank you. My question is, with the provincial rules, the pool is not like restaurant, like you don't have to be double vaccinated, is it? Oh,
Three-
okay. So there's no way we can leave people working there not vaccinated, and everybody have to go there, have to be vaccinated.
Through you, Madam Warden, the aquatic center is one of the facilities that does need proof of vaccination for the patrons to attend. But again, public health policy doesn't dictate as an employer what you do. So you can choose to have the double vaccination of your employees or testing or whatever you think will keep the public safe. But public health is who's telling us that the patrons at the pool have to be double vaccinated. As an employer, the choice goes back to the employer, whether the employees are. I understand that there's the optics, and again, you're looking at how to keep people safe. What will get to those objectives?
Well, as an employer, I think we should be the ones, if we want to require vaccination for people to go in, and especially some people, they cannot be vaccinated, at least we should be the same as, we should be vaccinated. Like, that's a no-no for me, for the pool. For here, it's up to you to decide if it's safe for what the majority of employees feel like if they want to work with. Like, it's not just about the people not vaccinated. You should ask the people who are vaccinated if they are comfortable working with their counterpart here. So it's not just about the non-vaccinated. Like, it's a big problem to tackle, but we got to do it right. We should take time about it. We shouldn't like pull the plug on it just right away. But you have to work with both sides too. Like some people might feel like, well, I can't work here if my co-worker is not vaccinated too. So we should take this into consideration too. Thank you.
Councillor Hebb.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I guess I would have to get on more information on the people, how they're gonna be tested and when they're gonna be tested. I guess, if somebody was to come in Monday and, well, you gotta be tested, well, they gotta take time off of work to go get tested. Or do they have to be tested Sunday in order to come to work on Monday? And it's, to me, it's a big thing to find out when the testing is gonna be and how often.
CAO could answer that, I believe.
Through you, Madam Chair, there's a variety of workplace programs that are in place. So most of, I think all of the testing programs are done based on a self-administered test. The employee then submits the results of those tests with the, like the cartridge number and the test numbers, and the employer automatically gets a result of that from whoever's provided the service. There are different people who provide those services that we would have to sort of work through different options and whatnot, but the testing could be done. Some policies I've read say that they have to be done on 2 work days that are not consecutive. So that would be like a Monday, Wednesday scenario. If you went with 3 tests a week, you could do sort of Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. So you're really not limited by any other factor other than how many times you want people to test. It's all self-administered. It's not going into a PCR testing site to get a test. They have developed the technology for rapid testing. We have them, they've been sent home through all of the schools, and different employers have large inventories of these tests available to them. So really, there's no limit, and it's very easy to do.
Councillor Rhino.
Yes, well, I don't believe in, having, let's say, the pool, all that staff has to be vaccinated because you work closely with there, and not having the other ones that don't, not vaccinated. I don't believe in that. I think that sins. Councillor Musa hit it on the head. He said, about how the staff feel vaccinated working with somebody that's not. I think that weighs in a lot on this too, right? And we're leaders. I just can't not see, maybe mandated by the government, but schools, teachers, all those people that move and shake this have to be double vaccinated. But yet, a municipality, those who don't want to be vaccinated, we're giving them the rein to stay that way as long as they get tested. I just think it is the optics and the sensibility and safety of the staff and everyone is somewhat at risk. Thank you.
Councillor Mitchell. Deputy Warden Mitchell, sorry.
Don't recognize that term yet. Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have any problem stating that I've been double vaccinated, and I'm proud of it. My question is about the testing. Let's say an employee came to work Monday, Tuesday, they were tested on Wednesday, they were positive. Would they be retested on that Friday? They would stay home Thursday, retested on Friday? And how would that affect the working of the department, of the people they were in contact with on that Monday, Tuesday? It's just my question.
Through you, Madam Chair, if an employee were to test positive, they would immediately be sent to a PCR testing site to get a confirmation of the test. And at that point, public health kicks in, and we would follow the protocols of public health with contact tracing and whatnot that we have in place. At that point, it becomes a public health process that we would go through, not unlike what many people have been going through for the last 18 months. If you are close contact, they still have some sites set up for those testings.
So they would need another negative test to come back to work?
Oh, absolutely. They would,
Would have to have 2 tests or just the one?
whatever public health tells them. So they would have to quarantine for the 10 days or whatever it is that once you test positive for COVID that you have to quarantine for. And then we would go through our protocols. Having said that, if the limit, the protocols in place with masking and social distancing, if you're not vaccinated, would supposedly prevent that from happening. So even if they did have close contact, it wouldn't be prolonged, it wouldn't be without masks, it wouldn't be close. So those protocols are not going away if the person isn't vaccinated. And having said all of this, anyone who is vaccinated can get COVID at the grocery store and bring it into the workplace. We're not immune to that. So, we have to keep some of those measures in place in general to protect the staff and public as well, so.
So would you contact Trace staff?
Absolutely. Whatever public health tells us to do at that point, we would follow their guide. But they wouldn't be back in the workplace until they had recovered from their positive.
So you could be short-staffed in that department?
We would absolutely be, and we would willingly be short-staffed if it meant not having someone in here that had an active case of COVID. Unfortunate, but that's what we would have to do if someone got the flu today. We're encouraging people to stay home if they have the flu, and we're in a fortunate place where we do have sick days provided to our staff. So we're encouraging folks not to come to work sick to start with, vaccinated or not. We don't need people in the workplace who are spreading germs of any kind.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Knockwood.
Sitting here, I agree with just about everybody here in this room. But I've been thinking about the news and when Senator Garden Cole mentioned about what they do in schools. Now, we getting schools shut down in Halifax. And now, it's a municipality dealing with underage people under 12. I do believe that should be treated the same way as a school, because it's the kids that we got to start worrying about now. They're shutting down schools. That's very important. And I'm double vaccinated, and I'll stand beside the staff. If I got to get tested twice, I'll get tested twice. If I have to go to a bin, sure, why not? I'll stand with the staff, because we have a good staff. We have a good council. We're all good people here, but, we're going to make a hard decision, and we're going to stick by it. Like, I agree with Kim over there, and agree with Senator Garden Cole, sorry. I just think we, on any level of government, it doesn't matter. Federal, provincial, municipality, chief and council, we're all people. And we can get the disease just as much as anybody else. But the young ones that we're worried about now, because we do have a high rate of people being vaccinated, but when you start shutting down schools, we got to act like if the pool's clientele is with kids, I think we should treat that as a school. We just talked about spending $7,500 on signs. I'd rather see the pool shut down and pay the people to stay home if it's for safety for kids. That's a no-brainer. We're not going to be tippy-toeing on any hard decision. I'm not. I just think what's important is the kids, and I think the staff, we should encourage staff to maybe vaccinated, but my time's up, I guess. But if it comes to a point we got to test staff, so be it. I appreciate the municipality doing, taking great measures to public safety. But like I said, the pool is a concern for me now. Even the hockey rink. We got show proof that we're vaccinated. And these kids are under 12, not even vaccinated, and they're shutting down schools. I think we may have to follow suit here pretty soon. It probably, hopefully it's for a short period of time. But I say public safety, I'm all about that, and especially the kids. So, like I said, we can put up signs saying, slow down, we love our children. I think we should say, whoa, let's take a look at this pool situation here first. Thank you very much, that's all I have to say.
Counselor Eisner.
Through you, Madam Speaker, do you get a test when you get a piece of paper, like a piece of paper when you get your test? If you're going to get tested every week, would you get a card for that, or how do you know if the person was even tested for that week?
Through you, Madam Chair, the results of the test get forwarded from the provider of the test to the employer.
And how long would that take?
It's not immediate, but
Okay,
yeah, it's not, there's no wait.
thank you.
Hey, folks, I have no one left to speak, so we do need to provide Kim with guidance. I've already said my piece. I'm all about safety. I think I hear what people say, but bear in mind, folks, that this staff has been working together for almost 2 years now, and a good part of that time before any vaccinations were available. And every opportunity and every regulation that could be made to keep staff safe has been followed. And that would continue to be the way. And that unvaccinated staff would have to jump through several hoops on a regular basis to continue working here. There is nothing to stop any member of staff, vaccinated or otherwise, to continue masking and social distancing. I know people who are double vaccinated who are still very, very cautious, and there's nothing to prevent that. I do agree with those that have spoken, and we've spoken mainly on the pool, but in any circumstance similar to that, where social distancing and masking is not doable, and you are interacting with vulnerable sectors of our population, I do think that that's treated differently. Because the end goal here, for me, is safety, is to protect people. And in the case of under 12s, to keep those kids safe. And I have no issue, treating the groups of employees interacting with those people perhaps differently than the rest. I guess that's all I have to say. Okay, back to you, Councillor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I'm going to put the question to the floor. I would move that the municipality of East Hants take on a mandatory vaccination similar to that of the provincial government and federal government, and that the people have to have approved reason for not fulfilling that wish. I so move.
Do we have a seconder?
I just need clarification on that.
Councillor Rhino's motion would say if you're not double vaccinated, you can't work here.
No, you're administrative leave.
No, which you can't work here. And
Thank you.
nobody can be on unpaid administrative leave for very long. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. I've called once. Okay.
So with this motion, I know the promise and they have a date that you'll have to be vaccinated. Would it be 2 weeks, month, or whatever? Like, is there a time frame to be double vaccinated in your motion? That's
Through Madam,
The time frame and my intent was to put this to the floor to make it mandatory, and at that, then we could come up with a reasonable time frame in which to be vaccinated, not to mirror exactly the date of the provincial or federal governments.
okay. That's good to know, but still, I'm not to support any type of motion that without knowing when it's the date of being vaccinated. I totally agree with you. But I like to know, give the people a chance to, get vaccinated. Is it an hour, 2 hours, days, or whatever, I can't
Well,
even
no
vote on
one could
it.
get double vaccinated in under a minimum 3 weeks, and probably, again, you get appointments longer than that.
Yeah,
Because
so,
you can't take your second dose in less than 3 weeks
gotta
after
take
your
so
first.
long.
yeah, that's a good point. But what do we do in the meantime if they're not vaccinated? Do you,
Okay, we have a motion that's not yet on the floor. We have a motion that's been made. Before we have any more discussion, I've called once for a seconder. I'm calling twice for a seconder. Third time for, seconded by Counselor Hebb. Okay, now I have the CAO, and then I have, I'll let you, do you have anything further, Counselor Knockwood?
more clarification on the motion, that's all I asked.
Okay, so we'll go to the CAO.
Madam Chair, as far as the timing goes, what I would suggest is the province, when they put out their mandatory vaccination policy, would have come with some science behind it and some timelines as to when people could get vaccinated by. So what I would suggest is you would make your date, however many days since they've passed their policy, to be your date requiring vaccination. So that would give you enough time for people who were just on the fence or haven't gotten around to it, to get their vaccinations to avoid that administrative leave.
I would add to the earlier comments, like minimum of 3 weeks to get vaccinated, but you're not considered fully vaccinated for 2 weeks past your second vaccination. So,
Yeah.
we're just
I
putting that
assume
out
they've done that
Yeah,
math in their policy.
okay. Anything further, Counselor Knockwood? No. Counselor Perry,
Thank you, Madam Warden. I was on before the motion.
okay.
Okay, thank you. I'm not in favor of this motion. I believe that the CEO's responsibility is the health and safety of the people that work underneath her. She's our employee and she looks after them. And I just look at the track record that's happened here since COVID started, and I think that we've done an outstanding job for both the public and workers in COVID protocols and keeping everybody safe. I also believe that there was a lot of great discussion here and a lot of great points brought forward by many counselors. Counselor Musa asked a question about what are other staff comfortable, right? That question has not been answered to work with that. There's a bunch of things that the CAO still doesn't have the list of who is and who is not vaccinated and where they work. I would have liked to see the CAO have time to implement these measures and do that groundwork to find out. And I also trust her that if that groundwork came to a different result, she would come back to council with a different recommendation. I just think that, we are rushing to a policy to match the provincial government when we don't know all of the answers within the municipality as of yet. The CAO hasn't had the time or the direction to get these answers and come back to us for. The timeline, yeah, I believe it's something along the line of 36 days or 35 days, somewhere in that space. But I fully trust the CAO in how she has worked to keep people safe during COVID already, and I think that she would continue to do so in the best interest of the employees and the public. So for that, I will not be supporting this motion.
Counselor Musa,
I don't want to talk about, I'm on the same line as Councillor Perry too, so. But for the pool is a yes for me, so. Thank you.
I believe that you were along the lines of Counselor Perry and just reiterated the special circumstances of the pool, so.
Exactly.
Deputy Warden Mitchell,
Yeah, just for clarification, did the motion have a time frame?
the time frame would reflect the same number of days as would have been reflected in the provincial government time frame.
After your first dosage or first vaccination, you need 28 days before you get your second one. and then you're not completely vaccinated after the second one for 14 days. So that, to me, is a short 5 weeks. I agree with Councillor Rhino's thinking. I agree with Michael Perry's, Constable Perry's thinking. I agree with the CEO, but it's a tough decision to make just on the facts of our discussion today. So I'm not sure which way I'm going to go. Thank you.
All right. Back to you, Keith, for one more comment. Just saying I'm speaking not in support of the motion, because similar to Councillor Perry, I do believe that the CAO and our directors have done an exceptional job managing through the pandemic thus far. I'm prepared to support their continued management going forward, and I too have every confidence that should the CAO discover information as she implements this that would lead her to some different conclusion, that she would certainly make us aware immediately. And, you know, if we go with this motion, that's a minimum of like 5 weeks that we're still somewhat in limbo. So anyway, for those reasons and what I've said before, I won't be supporting the motion that's currently on the floor. Thank you.
Yours thing again.
Councillor Rhino?
I'd just like to say, this is not shouldn't get into a debate of whether we support our CAO or we support the motion. This is, to me, safety. This is safety and leadership.
Point of order, this discussion is absolutely, there is a motion on the floor, and any debate that's going on is completely about whether or not we support the motion and the intent of the motion.
I've said my piece.
So, CAO.
Through you, Madam Chair, just looking at the provincial news release from September 29th, they gave their employees 2 months to get vaccinated. So if this policy were to come into play, I would recommend you look at a December 15th timeframe for full vaccination, or for full policy to be applied, as we would with the other option as well. So you could go a little earlier with that and do some testing beforehand, but I would suggest the timeframe is 2 months for vaccinations.
Just a clarification, if we went to the policy as suggested, I would think that could be quicker, because those folks who might not be vaccinated now would still have the option of
Right.
masking and physical distancing. So that could be as immediate as we get the information from the employees, with the possible exception of special circumstances such as the pool. Councillor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I just want to make sure that the motion is read again before we vote. Thank you.
Could we have the motion read back, please?
Move that the municipality of East Hants implement a mandatory vaccination policy similar to the provincial and federal governments, whereby staff must show proof of vaccination unless they have a valid reason for an exemption. And the provincial timeline would be December 15th. Or similar to the provincial timeline, which ours would be December 15th.
Is that taking consideration this passes council?
No, it would be December. It would be later than that.
So the date would probably be a few days after the 15th, because it would be based on council night, not today. I have no one else on deck. Are you ready for the question? Question's been called. Okay, and the motion has passed by a vote of 6-4 with, let me see, with Counselor Musa, Counselor Perry, myself, and Counselor Green voting nay, and everyone else voting in favor. Motion has passed.
Does that
So-
apply to counselors?
So folks, are we requiring this same, since we have passed this for staff, would it be the intent that the same regulations would apply to council and to public members of council committees? 1 second till I get my screen back. Counselor Green.
I would think yes, it would, and I'll go on the record, I'm no way against what Councilor Rhino has proposed. I just would like to have the information first to see where we stood. That was the reasoning. This could be a very necessary step. It could be very unnecessary, but now we will never know because we're driving the nail in, so.
Okay, so someone should probably make a motion that council and public committee members would be encompassed under the same regulations, just so staff has clarity. Counselor Green.
I so move the regulations apply to public members and council members as put forward here in this motion.
Seconded? Seconded by Counselor Knockwood. You ready for the question? The motion has passed unanimously. Okay, folks, that concludes the discussion, the items on the agenda. Is someone prepared to move a motion to adjourn? Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Contrary, motion is carried. Thank you, folks.